This video is brought to you by the Marutomo Corporation. Hey guys, welcome back to Blue Fire Toys and Collectibles. Alright, so this is the Super 7 Godzilla 1989 from the 1989 movie Godzilla vs. Biollante. This figure came out in July of last year. I pre-ordered mine long before that. I think it was almost like a year or a year and a half before that. But I ordered it through Big Bad Toy Store. I paid $87.99 before tax and shipping, so I think total I paid right around $100 for this figure. And let me start off by saying that this figure is awesome. It is a solid Godzilla figure, and when I say solid, I mean solid. That is a solid figure. I grew up in the 90s, and I grew up with the Trendmasters, Heisei Godzilla toys, the Godzilla King of the Monsters line, and the Godzilla Wars line, and, of course, the Godzilla 1998 line. So, when I first took this figure out of the package, it was a blast from the past. It was like opening one of the Trendmasters large-scale roaring figures again for the first time, and all of a sudden, I was 6 years old again. This figure, though its posability and articulation aren't great, the figure itself is actually just a really good display piece, if nothing else, but it also looks really good alongside the other figures from the line, which I'll show coming up in a minute here. But let's take a quick look at the articulation in the figure. So, one thing I am going to start with, I'm going to start with the tail. The tail does not really move all that well. For some reason, the way they have it, every segment is on a ball joint, which is great. But the way they have it, everything is curving down. So, let me pop this off here. You can see how the ball joint itself curves downward. So no matter what, as you're trying to pose it, it always wants to arc down. So you can't really pose it up very well because you get that little bulge in the tail there. And I don't know why they did that. It's really disappointing. It can lay flat pretty well. So that's cool because it's very hard to get a Godzilla figure where the tail will just lay flat, or as flat as, you can get it. And overall, having it arced like this is great. I just wish it could move up a little bit more, like curve up and then curve down a little bit more. I just wanted a little bit more articulation in the tail. Moving on to the legs and the feet. The feet, detail-wise, are pretty good. I think the toes are a little off. I think the smaller toe should actually be in here. And, I think just the outermost toe and the innermost toe should be flip-flopped to make it look just a little bit more accurate. The foot doesn't really bend at all. It rotates a little bit, but not that much. It's on a pivot, so it goes, like that. You do get some good range of motion. For what this figure does, you don't really need to pose it all that differently. It's Heisei Godzilla, so for the most part, he's just in a standard Godzilla attacking pose most of the time. The knee does bend. It's on a hinge, but it doesn't bend well. That's a problem. But again, for the poses you're going to be putting Heisei Godzilla in, not that big of an issue. Now, the hip doesn't really move at all. It moves up, but it does not go full 360 or anything like that. You can't really pose it back so he looks like he's walking or anything like that, which is, again, a little disappointing. The waist does turn. Turns very well, actually, very easily. The upper body is better than the lower body. The arms, they go out. The elbows move down. He's got a bicep turn. The elbow rotates all the way around. The hands have a hinge, and they rotate all the way around. He can actually hold things in the hands, which I'll get to in a moment. Both arms are the same. Both arms are the same way. There's no issues with sculpting or detail that inhibit movement or anything like that in his arms, at least. Get him back to standard Heisei Godzilla pose. There we go. That's how I like to usually keep them. The head is on a ball joint. Swivels very well. Turns to the side. He looks really cool posed like that, I think. Now, there is a second ball joint at the base of the neck where the neck meets the shoulders. So that does add an additional range of movement, which is really cool. But that's it for articulation. Now let's go on to detail. The detail on this figure is really good. The face, I mean, that's Godzilla 1989. That's the G89 face. Just holding him like this, it looks like it, get my hand out of the shot, it looks like a poster from one of the movies. The dorsal plates, all very well detailed. I think this point on the main dorsal plate is a little bit big. I think it should be about half its size. But if that's the worst thing I have to say about the dorsal plates, then I consider that a win. The overall figure itself, like I said, it's a really good figure. It's solid. It feels good in the hand. It's a nice Godzilla figure. Is it $100 nice? I don't think so. I think this would have been a really good $60 Godzilla figure. But if you are looking to pick it up, I fully recommend it, because moving on to something else that this figure did come with accessories. So, being that it's from the 1989 movie Godzilla vs. Biollante, he comes with two special parts that go with the Super 7 Roseform Biollante figure. This hand with the hole in it that's been pierced by one of Biollante's tendrils, and this wrap that goes around his neck of one of Biollante's tendrils. He also comes with the two hands you see him posed with right there, and two additional gripping claws, and two fists, which I think the fists just lend to the whole overall feeling of a Trendmasters figure. I just think that's a really cool addition to have a pair of fists on a Godzilla figure. He also came with this really cool mouth closed version head. I don't know why they didn't include a hinge joint in the mouth, but they didn't, so they gave an additional head. And to exchange it, to switch it out, it's simple. Pop it off and pop it on. It does take a little force to put it on completely, and it actually can hurt your hands. I don't know if you can see the puckering there on my fingers, so do be mindful of that. But that's what he looks like with the mouth closed. And to put the neck piece on, just slides over his neck like that. And there you go. One thing that is a little disappointing, I'm going to bring Biollante into the shot here. There's no real way to pose Biollante with her tendril up around his neck. So that's a little disappointing. It just makes this part kind of unnecessary. It just kind of is free floating, which I don't really get. It's disappointing that Biollante or Godzilla did not come with a tendril that is reaching out and interlocking with the piece around his neck. But again, that may just be a preferential thing with me. Now, to swap out the hands, it's pretty easy. You may need a hairdryer or some hot water. They do tend to stick, but they do snap on really simply. So, I like the standard hands that the Godzilla came with, the standard gripping hands. I think those are the most film accurate. The others are cool and unique, but I like the standard Godzilla gripping hands. So, as for paint, the mouth is detailed exceptionally well. There's no paint bleed whatsoever. The eye details are awesome. He's looking forward, which is refreshing. The paint all along his body, I mean, again, Godzilla, standard charcoal gray, nothing special there. The dorsal plates, I wish were a little bit more white instead of light gray and dark gray, but The dark gray actually looks good. It fits with this overall figure. Same with the toenails and fingernails. I wish they were a little bit more white instead of light gray, but it does not hurt the enjoyment of this figure. The accessories he comes with, no complaints with the paint there, no complaints with the interchangeable head. Overall, do I recommend picking up this figure? Absolutely. Definitely seek this figure out. It's completely worth it, but wait for a sale. This is not a $100 figure. This is a very good $50 to $70 figure. So they do go on sale periodically on BigBadToyStore.com and EntertainmentEarth.com. So if you're looking to pick it up on a sale. For scale, here is the SH Monster Arts Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong. You can see how much larger scale-wise the Super 7 figures are. Here is the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2002 from Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla. Again, SH Monster Arts, you can see the difference in scale. And for you Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire fans out there, here is the Playmates Tsuko figure with the Super 7 Godzilla 1989 figure. And speaking of Trendmasters, as a matter of fact, here he is holding a Trendmasters tank from the Godzilla Attacks New York playset, released in 1994. So, final thoughts on the figure. Like I said, definitely seek it out, definitely pick it up, but wait for a sale. It's a shame it didn't come with a heat ray, but there is a version of it that did come with a heat ray. That was the New York Comic-Con exclusive from 2023. I will be looking at that figure in a future video. There was also a San Diego Comic-Con 2023 exclusive figure of Godzilla as he appeared in the Dark Horse comic series Godzilla King of the Monsters from the issue Godzilla Thirsty for Blood. That's a really cool one I'll be looking at in a future video. I showed you Biollante. I'm going to be looking at her in a future video. They go really well together. I recommend picking both of them up, but again, wait for a sale. Alright, that's about all I have to say for this one, guys. So please continue to keep the channel growing. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I hope this has helped you in your collecting endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.